Metallica is not going to be touring, and
Well, some of
there's
those
so much
bands aren't set up for stream performances.
Yeah. Yeah, but so what he was saying, what basically was that kind of a timeline is where he thinks that you won't see and who did I see? It is, damn it, let me think for a second, because it was a major promoter that is not booking any tours in 2021 at all.
Like Live Nation or something like that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. At this point in time, they're not booking anything for 2021.
I'm wondering about that country fest for Bay City that's in June, if that'll even happen.
No, that's not going to happen.
It doesn't feel like it at this point.
That's not going to happen. And so what happens with these large arenas, Little Caesar and these places that, especially for the communities that are, they were put into really what was considered poor, broken down areas of the cities to build it up. And so you have all of these businesses that popped up because they're benefiting from the flow of the traffic to these venues. And now if these venues sit empty, because, is it basketball that's looking at canceling the season entirely right now?
I think they already did, didn't they?
Did they do it? Yeah, so these arenas are truly going to sit empty.
Wow.
Didn't basketball already cancel, Doyle?
For this year, NBA was the first one to cancel all the sports. I don't know about... basketball doesn't start again until next winter or whatever, or fall, so it's hard to say, but like NASCAR's done. Like I don't know if they're canceled the rest of the year, but probably. They're doing virtual, like what we used to do at the Willoo.
Yeah.
They figured out a way to, everybody's got simulators in their house to practice. That's how they're going to start doing it.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. So they're doing that.
That's
kind of
weird.
The PBA tour, as far as bowling, I think.
Like they're just going to have one big Wii bowling game?
That's where we're at, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's no longer, what is it, a single, when they do it, a single shooter or single player or something, now it's going to be, that's going to become the norm for a while, and whatever the norm is going to be. But, it's one of those things that it keeps becoming an onion that you don't realize something else gets peeled and you're like, oh, yeah, I guess then this and this aren't going to happen now.
So hypothetically, we're not even talking about 4th of July this year. We're talking about no festival this year.
We're talking about nothing this summer.
God.
Bonfires and 6 feet away from each other.
I can't even have a bonfire because my lease says I can't have one. Fuck
really?
This place.
Yeah, it's just scary. Now that, I think I'm guilty. I was one of them things, okay, middle of May, everything's going to be back to 100%. But, I don't think it is.
No, I assume that we would go in stages, right? I would assume that, like, May 1st, okay, essential businesses now include this, right? Like, and restaurants can continue to do this and reduce wait staff. Like, I was kind of in line with what John was saying. I kind of didn't think about 100, 200. I kind of thought we'd go back to 50. For a month or so. So what my
50 people?
What my hypothesis is that May 1st we come back, and I don't want to. We've got a couple listeners here, right? And I don't want to invoke fear or anything like that. Like nothing that we're saying here is accurate or factual.
No, it's all speculation.
Speculation at this point. So. Because I hate it when people do this. I hate it when people write stories about this shit. So like here I go and I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But what I would hope to see that like May 1st they say, okay, we're going to increase the group gatherings to 25. You can go back and forth, say social distancing,
right.
That kind of stuff. Like back what it was before we did the shutdown.
Right.
Like we were in social distancing. I was operating a business under social distancing rules at one point. Right?
Yeah.
We weren't allowing refills of cups anymore at the coffee shop. So like if they brought their own cup, I wasn't touching their cup. We took all the self-service items off the counter. I see us going back to that right off the bat. And then restaurants operating at 50% capacity. That's what some of the other states are doing now. Even in their shutdown order, you could still go to some restaurants and that kind of stuff, but they're under a 50% capacity. If you had 100 seats at one point, now you got to have 50 seats and you only seat every other table or something like that, right? So I would hope that would be the first initial case. And then my hopes and dreams is that we're somewhere returned to normal by July. I mean, all of the maps and stuff that I see show 0 cases by June or July. If we continue or graphs rather, all the graphs that I see show that if we continue social distancing practices.
And I think that that's accurate. I really do. I think that even though the government hasn't said anything to that extent, I think that by saying that we are going to put this extra $600 on the unemployment for 4 months, that's saying that they need to be able to help the people as things as the stages are being done. Because if a restaurant's opening at 50%, then they only need half the wait staff.
Yeah,
right.
And so
right.
What you have is you have these people that are still, some of them doing even better on unemployment than they would be if they were working.
Hell yeah, I am.
And
we
I
make
think
a decent living, and you know, we're doing okay. And my wife got a raise. You know what I mean? Like she got a raise by the time you include the 600 and then the weekly unemployment. And there's a whole lot of nonsense going around right now on social media. Like the next thing we need to do when we reopen this country is we need social media distancing now. Like,
oh my goodness, yes.
Shut your fucking
Turn that
Facebook
shit off for 2
I
months.
know.
Yeah.
Go back to where you had to pick up the phone and fucking call somebody.
Because that social media is such a nonsense. Like, why am I an essential worker and I have to be out working and these people at home are getting unemployment? Well, first of all, asshole, you should be thankful that you have a job.
Right.
Because some of us don't. Like,
Me.
Raise your hand, all three of us
1, 2,
here,
3.
right? None of us are working. So, and right now, at this point in the game, like, I think, you know, April 16, 2020, I miss working. I miss having a place to go to every day and do something.
Yeah, I definitely do. I miss my environment. I love my studio, my graphic design studio. I absolutely love it. So I definitely miss that. But
I
it
saw
is
your
nice
post
to
the
be
other day about the graphic design studio and that, you know, you're not going because, you know, I think it's important that you not go there. I mean, you know, your daughter's at home and she's impressionable and she sees you making a sacrifice being at home, and you know, I think that's important.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because that is, I mean, I easily could do that. I'm half a mile and I touch 2 doors on the way in. There's nobody there. Right. But it just for me, I've always said if you're going to talk it, you sure as hell should walk it. And so since it doesn't, and exceptions have got to be limited.
Yeah,
yeah. So
I work in the car business, so we were practicing social distancing before the shutdown too. Like we couldn't go on test drives. I had to bring like a wipe when I brought the car to the customer, wipe the door handle down, and tell them when you bring it back, don't touch the keys, don't shut it off. I'll shut it off.
Yeah.
So and then they had to have their own pen. We had our own pen. They had gloves, and for as far as you know, doing the closing. So we were already practicing it, and hopefully car lots they're doing virtual. I mean, you can buy a car online right now, let's face it. You don't even need to go into a dealership unless you're one of those guys like me that has to see it in person. But I think each dealership has 1 or 2 people. It's called a virtual showroom where you're doing everything through email or FaceTime or some type of video chat. So hopefully by May, though, you know, because leases are up.
Yeah.
Leases are going to be up. They got to buy
miles
something.
are down. Yeah, my daughter is 16, and she sure seems to think that once this kind of gets lifted, that vehicles are going to be cheap. She's like, I'm going to be able to get a good price on a vehicle.
I would imagine that's right. I mean, I would think that you'd be able to get a decent deal on a car after this is all over.
Well, when we started this, I had pre-owned stuff that was 60 days old.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I go, they're still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to dump
them. John, I found another story that you may want to share with your wife and your family.
Okay.
A guy, his name is Ayatollah Tabrazania, has made a few bold claims over the past days, including, by his estimation, that Western medicine is un-Islamic. But by far his grandest claim is that violet leaf essential oils. Do you guys have any of them in your house, John?
We have a buttload of essential oils in
the
our
violet
house.
Leaf is the most important.
No, not the Viva leaf. We do not have
violet.
No.
Violet.
No, we do not.
How do you know?
Because we have Young Living, and that is, I think it's actually branded on the front. In fact, it's part of our address. It's 706 Young Living Lane is our address.
Violet Leaf Essential Oils is a brand of essential oils.
It's a brand. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different brands out there.
I thought it was actually violet leaf oil, like the leaf of a violet.
Brand.
Well, he's saying if you get into the violet leaf oil and you apply the oil directly to your anus, that it will cure you of the coronavirus.
Really?
Well, then in that case, he's not talking about the brand. He's talking about the oil itself, and I do not care to do that.
But I mean, if you had the coronavirus, what would the downside be to rubbing a little violet leaf on your asshole? I mean, let's just think about that for a minute.
I got some essential oil. Maybe I'll just try it, just to try it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to rub it on my asshole, Sean. I mean,
No. I mean, you have
can you
long
just say,
hair, and it has
thought
been
you
a
just
while
offered.
for me.
You got to remember that Josh thinks I shouldn't wipe as well as I do because I get ass crumbs. So I have kind of lightened up on what's down there. So it might not be super
I
pleasant.
don't know if that's good.
Threaten
or
me
not,
with a
but-
good time.
One of the things think about using some of your wife's essential oils on your ass, John. That might help up the situation a little bit. Also, recently reported that 86 clients from a brothel in Spain have recently been put under quarantine after one hooker tested positive for the coronavirus. That woman had 86 customers
Yeah.
since the beginning of
on
this.
a Tuesday?
It's all in a half a day's work, man.
Yeah.
Man, that's incredible. According to police reports, the lady of the night had slept with several of the guests on the same evening, inadvertently spreading the virus. That's not the only thing she was spreading.
She's doing a lot of. I think spreading. It's more like it's a locked position.
Right.
With club owners, security, and cleaning staff, waiters, other girls, and clients, the total under quarantine tops out at about 119 people from this one brothel. And not that that's bad enough, authorities are also worried that the partner some of the quarantine men may be paying the brothel to visit get some answers.
And one of the customers was a bus driver from Sweden.
That's right. And that was his only stop.
That was his only stuff. Closed for business. Well, now what am I supposed to do?
Everybody off. That's the bus line. Everybody off.
And then this one I read here is pretty entertaining to me too. Stimulus checks are hitting people's banks now, right? People
Yep.
are starting to get. John, have you got your stimulus check
Cha-ching.
yet?
I got it yesterday.
You did?
Yep.
Nice. That's
I
nice.
didn't get mine yet,
Nope.
damn it.
Oh, shit, I broke it. Nobody in this house has gotten any stimulus checks yet, but Americans began receiving the first batch of coronavirus relief funds this week. Now many are taking to social media to brag about the items that they've purchased with it. Among the more trivial items people have reportedly used the extra bucks on is inflatable dinosaur costumes, although the buyer argues that the $35 getup was totally worth it. And then this person says, fuck it, I'm buying a stripper pole with my stimulus check. We have to invest in our future, tweets a future exotic dancer. Some are jokingly planning to team up so they can use their economic impacts payments to buy a baby tiger. Hear me out. Who wants to combine their stimulus checks with me and we can buy a tiger, writes one likely fan of Tiger King. And then canopied beds and high-end sex toys are apparently all trending right now on Amazon since people got their stimulus checks. But I mean, the adults in the room are just going to pay your bills with it, right? I mean, John, you're
They're
not
like telling people not to do that.
pay bills.
Pay
No,
the
there's-
minimum.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
your
saying the
minimum
stimulus is to put it back out into the economy. That's what they want you to do. Well, I can tell you what. I went to my bank, and you can open up as many savings accounts as you want under the checking account, and you can always give it a name for the account, so whether it be vacation, college fund, whatever. And I named one. This ain't fucking happening again. And that's where I put my money.
That's
Because I'm not going to. And the lady goes, I can't put that word in. I'm like, well, then you do asterisks, whatever it is you need to do. But that's what I want this account titled. Because I'm getting caught where I'm worried about a mortgage payment or something for a couple months. Because, I mean, this shit is serious, and we can't say we're never going to see it again.
You know what the other
Right.
thing
So
that
I'm
I
not
read
looking.
about is the people getting the mortgage. What's the word?
relief.
No, there's a D word that you use for it. There's like you call your mortgage
Deferred?
company.
Deferred.
No, it's not that word
Yeah.
either. But there's a word anyways that you call your mortgage company and say, I'd like to get this on my mortgage company, so they take away a couple of your payments. That's all due. Like that's going to come due again. Like that's kind of scary to me too.
Oh, yeah.
that I'm not sure people understand
Well,
that.
I added 2 payments to my lease for
Right,
this, so I don't.
but
have
the
a car
difference
payment.
is that your payments were added to the end of the forbearance. That's the word that I'm looking for.
Oh, okay.
So I read a story. and
Forbearance.
I don't know how true it is, but the story that I read said, like, if you ask for April and May forbearance, then in June all of those payments become due. Do you know anything about that, John?
I don't. I thought that it goes on to the end, and where they're getting you is they're getting the additional interest on it.
Yeah. I mean, there's
I thought that's what it
skip-a-loan
was being done.
payments.
But where you're getting really, you get these places that like, well, for instance, like we had to get new tires on our vehicle, and they offered 0% financing for 6 months. Well, then that's fine. I'll pay it off within the 6 months. This goes back like 3 months ago.